this is Rumor reporting to you from, well, the floor of my sacred space, actually. There's my little altar, where I have staged a couple of intention setting rituals that I'm looking to fire up with some renewed sense of purpose. And I actually have not done either of these things in quite some time, so I'm pretty excited about it. And it's not going to be formally set up on my floor. This is just my gathering process of getting the actual tools and actually being selective in what is going to be a part of it to make sure that everything involved aligns with that intention. So over here is quite simply going to be a crystal grid. I've got my applicable crystals in this bag waiting to be cleansed and infused with the intention. Little piece of paper where I'll write my intention down for the center crystal, and then the grid itself that will ultimately go up on my windowsill. And then over here is my ritual box, again, with more paper, where I'm going to be not only writing my intention on one card, but also creating a sigil that I will then burn in my little cauldron here as part of the process of getting this set up. This whole concept is a direct ripoff from Kelly Fitzgerald. And give me 1 second. I need both hands to open this. There we go. And this is not what it's ultimately going to look like, but I have gone through my Wildwood Tarot and Celtic Lenormand. And I've just selected some cards that are going to reflect my intentions, but also provide some underlying energy to fuel those intentions. And so I just have a way of arranging these cards on this side of the box. And there's some garnet sand in here, and these other pieces are going to be taken out and ultimately arranged here to represent all four elements. And again, a complete ripoff from Kelly Fitzgerald. But then what I've got just set up here in a rune bowl for the time being, just a waiting cleansing, just like my crystal grid crystals. Well, first of all, I've got a pendant wand and a ring here that I'll actually wear as part of this ritual, just like getting everything cleansed, setting the intention, burning the sigil, so on and so forth. So just awaiting that cleansing. I've got some rune stones here that I use specifically for this type of ritual work versus casting. I've got another set that I can use for that. But basically what I do is again, taking from Kelly Fitzgerald, when this is ultimately cleared away and the sand is shaken out to be smoothed over, she would lay stones in the shape of a geomancy figure. And so what I've decided to do, just to kind of amplify the intention of that geomantic figure, would be to actually choose runes that I felt supported the energy of that intention as well. So these rune stones are going to build the geomantic figure, and then the respective runes are also going to be supporting this intention. It's just reinforcing a lot that's evident in these Lenormand cards and the tarot cards. And what I love about the Celtic Lenormand, and actually give me a second while I go grab that book. Well, here, I'll show you. This box usually sits on top of this little box at the base of my bookshelf. This is Sid, by the way, my smoky quartz skull. But this is where I keep a lot of the tools for this particular intention, and that would include the decks and the runes themselves, as well as my little ritual jewelry there. But here we go. I love this particular Lenormand deck, even though Lenormand is not something I'm typically the strongest at, but there are so many layers to how they describe the cards. It just goes beyond keywords. You get an actual description of what appears in the image, and then a lovely description of what that actually means and how it applies to spiritual readings, dark and light aspects of it, and then spell use. It gives suggestions for what types of spells you could incorporate these cards in. And then comes this little affirmation at the end, and also deity associations. So it just really opens up the potential of what you can use the Lenormand cards for beyond just that standard usage. And this is a deck that I pretty much use exclusively for the purpose of this ritual for the time being. And I do always use the Wildwood Tarot for that as well. So yeah, then over here is my moon water. I'm actually waiting so that I can charge it underneath the full moon in a few days. And then that will be poured into this little pitcher here, which is going to help me to replenish the water, because again, stealing from Kelly, I guess I can show you roughly how it lays out, but this is a fossil that I just used because, as you can see, I've singed the wood from the tea light before, so I ended up using this as a little base to catch some of that heat from the candle. So there you've got fire. This is air. It's a feather I collected on the Cornish coast. And then water, and then to prop up the water, I use this stone. And these are stones I also found on that same coast of Cornwall. But this helps me to prop up this seashell that I also found in Cornwall. Collected everything on the same visit out there. So I will pour the water into the seashell and then replenish accordingly, because it does evaporate, and this is something I keep up for a longer term. And then this stone is earth, which just props up there. So anyways, the cards are going to be arranged in a nicer way. Again, the sand will be leveled out and those rune stones placed in the geomantic figure on this side. And, you know, I'll follow up and show what it looks like when it's all set up. But basically, this is just laying the groundwork for everything. And I'll share what my ultimate crystal grid ends up looking like too. But I guess I can pull out some of the things from here too. Now that I've shared about this ritual, I'll share about this ritual. So this particular ritual, I am really wanting to fire up my motivation and creativity. So I am juicing this puppy up with some big natural Congo citrine. Which corresponds with the natural citrine point that I will be putting at the center of the grid. Then I just have some tumbled stones that I will throw in to supplement. And for that, I'm not pulling them all out here, obviously. I'll have some, this is heat-treated citrine. I'll have some of those. I'll have some carnelian. Some green aventurine as well. So those are just crystals I've chosen for my own reasons. They are going to support my intention. Again, I'm going to infuse each one with their respective intention, and then together, or their respective role in supporting my intention, I should say. And then together, they'll all just collaborate to hopefully get this energy out there. And then here is my clear quartz crystal wand that I will use when this is all set up and everything's nice and symmetrical, reflecting some nice sacred geometry. Then I'll use this to actually activate the grid and let it do its work as I do mine, because I do not set these intentions and set up these rituals just so that they can passively, so that they can actively do the work as I just passively sit back and try to reap the rewards. The idea is that this gives me something, well, first of all, just going through the process of writing down the intention just getting clear about what it is in my head in the first place and actually committing that to paper. And these are not going to be identical intentions, but they are going to support each other in a symbiotic fashion. And that alone just reinforces the intention in my head. That process helps me get clear on what it is. And then just the act of actually setting all of this up and being intentional about it. And that's the whole aspect of the sigil process too. Hoping that the sigil, before I burn it, is something that is then stored in my subconscious, basically, and is at work, whether I'm aware of it or not, and hopefully underlying all my actions so that what I am doing is in alignment with my goal. And then just having the physical appearance of these things once they are all set up in my view, that just reminds me. So if I'm ever losing sight of my intention, I'll walk by and notice one or the other. I will sit, for example, in front of the crystal grid and meditate and recite that intention over and over and over again, just for that reinforcement and to kind of like charge this up again. Likewise with the ritual box. It's something that helps to keep me accountable, having this visible element added to the intention. So it's not like it's just something in my head. I'm seeing it and I'm actually reminded to act it out in the ways that I need to. And it is very peaceful and centering, actually, to have that time of just sitting before the ritual box or the grid. And again, reciting that intention like a mantra. I have found these things very effective for me in the past. Have not done it in a long time, though, unfortunately. And so I'm hoping that it will hold true going forward, that this is still something that will work for me. And this is certainly something that I could use to supplement my moon cycle spreads, where I have shared with you how I set intentions that way. And so I can just have it fired up through all three means. And that is a way of really getting me focused. Or like I said, it's not necessarily the same exact intention across all these three things, but they do tend to complement one another, support one another, ideally. And it's always a good thing to check in with these things too. If you do start to see the results starting to come about, it can really matter how you phrase your intention too. And so you got to be careful about a watch what you wish for sort of situation. So it can be necessary sometimes to course correct and maybe go back and like tweak the wording of an intention, or as you find that you're reaching a certain stage and then you realize you want to refine it more and you're getting even more specific with what your intention is. As I feel like the energy and momentum building behind this, then I may get some very, very, very specific intentions in mind that will then have me want to revisit this and kind of lather, rinse, repeat as necessary. So, all right, I will be back with you then with the final setup of these things. So here is my completed crystal grid, which I've just propped on my windowsill. It's a very petite grid, so it might look a little clumsy the way I've arranged my crystals, but they all managed to fit on there. Not one of my greatest arrangements, but as you can see, I've got the partial piece of paper there with my intention underlying the central natural citrine point and my 3 Congo citrine and also artificially heated citrines, carnelian, aventurine, to hopefully help fuel and send out this intention to the universe that I am seeking some creativity and motivation. And the aventurine is to ensure that I'm creating from the heart. Aventurine, also a stone of abundance as well. And in this case, I just want to feel more self-fulfilled than anything, not looking for like monetary gain, but hopefully the carnelian can help fire me up here. And then of course the citrine just giving me that sense of personal power and drive and a sense of moving forward with success and self-confidence, so on and so forth. So the crystals can have lots of meanings, but those are some general attributes that I give to these in particular. And yes, so there we go. I'm going to leave this set up until I feel like it's no longer needed as a crutch. But right now, I definitely am appreciating the little oomph that this adds to my practice at the moment. And here's the final product of my other intention setting ritual, which I've set up at the base here of my little altar space, meditation station as I call it. I've set it up here so that I can, pull this back and sit and repeat my intention as I am gazing at this and contemplating the very intentional choices I made in the runic symbols, the geomantic symbol, the cards, Lenormand tarot that I drew. Again, I can't stress this enough. I directly ripped this idea off of Kelly Fitzgerald at The Truth in Story. I am not taking credit for this whatsoever. I am just sharing that it is something that I do more so a few years ago, and I'm just kind of getting back into it now and seeing if it's still something that's effective for me. I will say what roses I will pin to my nose are all I did was sort of take what she had, but then added a couple of components of my own, which would be, as I mentioned before, whereas she just used stones or maybe some type of tumbled stone of a crystal to create her geomantic figure. I have simply just enhanced that by having rune stones so that those meanings, those energies can also feed into that intention. I've also got a little sassy going with a garnet sand. Excuse me. I certainly did not set out to find that. I didn't know that it could be found, but I happened to see it on Etsy as I was just looking for like a source of sand. And yeah, this is crushed garnet. Isn't that pretty? So I just feel like, ooh, that lends a nice grounding, but then also kind of motivating energy as well. And loving, like self-love as we're approaching these things. But then also, it's been a while since I've seen Kelly's original video. And to be honest with you, I don't think she has it publicly available anymore. I will try to find it again. I have tried to find it before and it was gone. But if I can find it, I will for sure leave the link below. At the very least, I'm going to leave a link to her channel. But I think that she maybe chose one tarot card from the Wildwood Tarot to set the intention, but because my mind can't be that simple, oh no, got to make everything more complicated. I ended up throwing in the Lenormand with the Celtic Lenormand, and same idea as this. It's just like that second layer of, for this side of the box to just amplify, reinforce with supporting energies. So I don't know. It's fun for me to layer like that. It's really neat. I mean, to take like 4 different divination methods to build on the original 2 that Kelly had. But this idea of setting up the elements, yeah, that was all her. I think she used a little bowl for the water. I've used a seashell, which I just love and adore. But, kind of give your own personal touches to it. And I think she also used a book box. And I'm just using an actual box, which gives it the depth here, which is where she was able to set these things a little less precariously on hers because it was a flat surface, whereas I have to be really careful, especially when that's lit. And with the water here, everything's like balanced just so. But listen to me giving everything away that she did. If she took her video down for a reason, I am so sorry. I highly doubt Kelly's watching my video, but if there was some reason why she did not want that to be shared, and now here I am blabbing it to all, massive apologies. And I'll take down mine accordingly if there's a real personal reason for that. But otherwise, I just was like fascinated by the idea when I first saw it, and I immediately set about trying to recreate it for myself. So that's my intention at the moment, then corresponding with my crystal grid. And thank you for joining me today. And please let me know what sorts of processes you use, rituals, if you will, as you're setting your intentions and kind of lighting the fire under yourself, so to speak, for actually doing the follow through on those intentions. Because again, it's all good and well to set these things up, and it's fun to do, and we can recite the mantra, but there could be that tendency to think that you're just empowering this thing, this stuff, with that intention, and it's just like being put out there to be done all on its own. But no, the idea is that the work has to come from us as well. So my purpose in carrying out these rituals is the repetition of that intention, whether it was setting up the grid or the one for this, whatever the respective goal is. I am repeating that as I am making the selections of what I'm going to incorporate, the crystals for the grid, the figures and the cards for this. Everything is focusing on that same intention, and it's something I'm very mindful of as I am not just gathering what I want for it to infuse it with that energy, but then actually going through the process, going through the ritual of it itself. And now that everything is set up, just pausing in front of these things and reciting that like a mantra over and over in my mind, again, for that reinforcement. But it's not enough to just say it and think it. The idea is to get it to really sink into my head so that even subconsciously, I am carrying out actions that are in alignment with bringing those goals about, actually manifesting this. And if I am not doing that, if I recognize that I'm not, well, not that I'm all about the shaming, but I mean, having these things physically set up, having that visual reminder of what I should be doing, it does kind of like tisk me. And I realize, okay, you know what? I didn't actually like do anything actively, consciously. I can't just leave it to my subconscious either. I need to take like conscious action as well. So it's just like that nice reminder, just that like gentle little nudge, like, hey, have you done something that you're aware of to further this intention? And if not, then if it's too late for that day, then I can like think of what I'll do the next day. It's just a gentle nudge. It's not shaming. I shouldn't have used that word, but I was raised Catholic, and so like I know how a little guilt can go a long, long way. So all right, enough of that. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.